Please hang up and try again.
Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. The purpose of this video is going to be, one, to find out if an investor should look for properties in an HOA or not in an HOA. I'm going to give my opinion at the end, but I'd also like to dispel some myths about HOAs. So I have two investors who have large portfolios who've been investing for decades, both of you.
Mm-hmm.
In your experience, in your buy box, do you think there is a benefit or enough negatives for an HOA for you to want them or not want them? Let's start with Mike. In your own words, what do you think of HOAs for investment properties?
I think HOAs for investment properties are, how should I say this? Horrible. And I actually have one. I have an investment property, I call it an apartment. It's a condo in an HOA. I bought it I bought it for less than the cost of a car because the seller wanted out, and I bought it for cash, and I treat the HOA like a mortgage payment. Unfortunately, this mortgage payment goes up, not down, right? The HOA has gone up 3 of the last 5 years. Not a lot, but enough. The HOA has lots of rules and stipulations, and it's a pain in the ass. It, in fact, will be, it'll be one of the first properties I sell if affordability in my market collapses, right? Affordability in my market's still relatively safe at about 40 or 41. If my affordability gets to like 29, 28, it will be one of the first things I sell. I do not look for them. I will certainly buy them. I will buy anything that makes sense, but it doesn't have to be a great deal. It has to be a stupid deal for me to do them. And I have one. But yeah, they're not in my buy box. I don't look at them. I think a lot of new investors look at HOAs. Oh, they take care of the grass. They take care of the outside. They don't read the rules. There were a bunch of HOAs that went bust. Because again, I've been doing this for decades. Yeah. I remember in my market of Fresno, California, houses raised higher. Nobody could afford them. Then they started buying 1970s, 1980 row apartments, garden apartments, making those condos. They just condoized them. And then they had these HOAs, and then the fees went up, and then everybody didn't pay. Then they had to do special assessments and all of this bad stuff that you're in cahoots with your other 100 owners. No, thank you. But if you want to give me one for free or next to free, I'll take it. But yeah, I don't want another one.
Mm-hmm. Matt, in your words, thoughts on HOAs?
It's kind of like an alligator. It's like a punch in the face. Some would say, and you guys know me pretty well, but some would say that I don't get along well with others.
No.
Sometimes people make that accusation.
Oh, that's
and
funny.
I can honestly tell you, me and condo boards, it's not a good idea. Yeah, okay. It's not those HOA, because I question intelligence. I question thought process. I question logic. And, it's like amazing things. Like there was this development that I was going to buy in a bunch of condos. I was going to buy a block of condos. And they're like, yeah, it's amazing. It's this, it's that. And I was like, okay, well, you're like kind of close to the ocean. And so have you accounted for that with what you're going to use for trim? No, we still want that natural look. Yeah. 5 years later, $3 million special assessment to swap out all the trim on those buildings. And it hit everybody to the tune of like $20,000-$30,000.
A unit.
So, a unit, 20 to 30, a unit. And so the only time, and admittedly, I did this, the only time, hopefully they're not watching, the only time that I've ever bought into something that was HOA that was basically had condo fees and such, was when I actually bought 6 out of the 8 units in the building. So I had complete control and I did whatever I want.
Yeah.
So yeah, first base Bugs Bunny, second base Bugs Bunny. Yeah. If I want to do something in that building, I can actually recommend to do it. I can actually approve it. And then the other 2 owners have to pay with me. I just pay the percentage. So outside of owning the board, not interested. Yeah.
Okay. So both of your opinions validate my opinion on HOAs. I see that we all concur on this. The myth that I would like to dispel is when I'm talking to somebody who doesn't invest, they say, I've heard this from several people, I really want to buy in an HOA because your neighbors will take care of their yard, so your appreciation will be better. It's like there's some playbook for HOA selling that is in there. As an investor, there are 3 investors here who are producing content that impacts a lot of investors who prefer to buy investment properties that are not in an HOA. It lowers the demand for the properties in the HOA. So the appreciation is not better in an HOA. And then you guys spelled out a couple things that I like to clarify or reiterate. The monthly charge, you can look at it like a mortgage. There is the negative that it's going to increase in the future, which mortgages don't, or it's not to the same extent. The random assessment is the deal killer for me.
Yes.
That board can choose to replace, repair, or maintain something that you don't think needs work and don't agree with, and you get an assessment from somewhere from $1 to several tens of thousands of dollars if needed. And there goes the deal. The real negative I didn't hear you guys bring up, I have a friend who went through this, purchased a condo in an HOA, had a renter in there for about 5 years. When the renter moved out, the HOA was over the percentage of allowable units for rentals. He had 3 options. You can move in, you can leave it vacant, or you can sell it. So there are other rules that can impact you as an investor that make me, literally, my buy box to my real estate agent says, no HOAs. Literally, don't even look for them. I own 1 property in an HOA because I bought a house before I was an investor, and it has been a nightmare. Yeah. My personal experience is the boards, not when you own 6 out of the 8 units, but the boards are made up of busybodies with nothing better to do than mess with their neighbors. And if you're in the good old boys club that's known them for 10 or 20 years, you can have a dumpster in your yard. You can paint your fence whatever color. You can do whatever you want. But if you're Dion, you don't know those people and you're not on the board, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So I will never own a rental property.
Yeah. The other myth I wanted to dispel that we didn't really hit on, and I hear this all the time. I'm going to buy a condo because it's cheaper. Really? Is it really cheaper? Yeah, the price point, but again, it's never about price, right? It should be about payment, cash flow, all of that. Most of you aren't doing the math correctly because, yeah, maybe the price point, maybe the down payment, but really what we're looking for is yield and all of those things. Most of the time, it's not cheaper. It's just not.
Yeah, I know a really smart guy that I listen to often, and he says, you can go broke buying cheap.
I like that guy.
And if I wasn't super lazy, I would literally make a montage of all the videos where you've said that.
So true.
So if you're a new investor and you're looking at properties on the MLS, one of the things you might want to add to your search is to tell your agent you're not interested in buying in an HOA. Because here's 3 investors who have reached financial freedom by buying buy and hold rental properties that have all said, I do not want to do that again going forward. Awesome. If people have questions and want to find out more good information like this, Matt, how can they get a hold of you?
Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube and Lumberjack Landlord on Instagram, or the live stream 11:30 a.m. Eastern time on my YouTube channel.
And Matt, this will be edited.
But not today.
And Mike, if people have questions for you, how can they get a hold of you?
Just go to your Google search bar and type in one rental at a time. You should see YouTube, Instagram, website, books. And I do a live stream, which I never mentioned, 8 a.m. Saturday Pacific. We go for an hour, and then I talk to my students at 9 o'clock in our private Facebook group.
Nice. I think after hearing the advice from both of you, I'm probably going to only buy properties in HOAs going forward.
Awesome.
But not today.
That's good.
Thank you both. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
If you mean horror story by losing 70 grand, yeah, I got one of those. So literally the very first property I ever bought, before I really knew exactly how all the condo HOA things worked, I bought a place because it was close enough to work, and I had a roommate in the area. Loved the area. It was perfect. So I bought it. And 3 years later, he'd gotten a different job and was moving away. And I didn't see any need to, I didn't want to get another roommate. It was like, okay, that was kind of played out. I was ready to buy a house. And so I decided, hey, I'm going to sell this thing. And so literally call the agent that sold it to me. I put it, start doing all the paperwork to put it on the market. And then I get the infamous letter in the mail from the HOA board. And I start reading it and it's like, yeah, this, that, and the other. And so we've decided that we're actually going to replace the facade of the building. And that due to it incorrectly being installed when the building was built 14 years ago, the new cost is going to be $4 million, and your share based on the floor number you are and the size of your unit is $71,000 something.
Man, special assessment.
$71,000 something. I was like, oh, nope, it's not in this pair of jeans. It's probably in my other set of pants. But $71,000. And so I'd done the math and I was thrilled because when putting on the market, I was like, hey, not bad. I lived here for 3 years. It only cost me about $1,400 a month to live in a really nice condo in the city. And I had a roommate paying a good portion. So yeah, like this isn't bad. Like, okay, so, I'll make, after taxes and whatever, like I'll make, 30, 40, 50 grand after fees and stuff. I was like, this is awesome. And then when it was all said and done, I made $0. I had the right to basically sell my unit and not have to write a check between the agent and the special assessment. The only thing I could do on the special assessment was I actually tried to negotiate with the buyer about the special assessment saying, hey, they're saying it's going to be 71,000 something, but we don't know that it's going to be 71,000 something. But I had read pretty much everything I could read at the time. And I was like, it never ends up that low number. It always ends up a higher number. But I guess he didn't know that. So I actually negotiated with him and I said, how about we just work it out that instead of 71,000, because nothing's happened yet, because it's not been approved by the board, because let's just agree on let's agree on 60,000. So I got off the hook and I was able to get a $60,000 credit and cover my realtor fee. And so when it was all said and done, I didn't walk away with really much of a check other than a rounding error, but I was out of the unit. I didn't have to go through the pain. And then come to find out down the road, it was actually closer to $5 million is how much that cost to redo that building.
Wow.
So his piece was probably closer to 83 or 85.
Ouch.
Mm-hmm.
No, that reminds me of the time I had a random $70,000 bill show up on one of my properties.
Really?
No.
Not today.
I'm like, no way.
Not today.
Perhaps. But not today.
Awesome. I'll put that in there. Thanks.